I'm Melody Vasel. Welcome to the Dice Tower. We're going to GenCon.
And yes, Melody, my daughter, and I, Tom Vasel, went to GenCon 2011. Said the best 4 days in gaming, and it must be true because 36,000 plus people came. You can see here, this is the line on Thursday morning to get in. A huge line. Lots of people as they come in, all here for one thing, really, and that is to play games. Although I suppose to say just there to play games might be kind of a generalization because there's a lot of reasons to come to GenCon. You can see here, this was Thursday morning, a huge area, gigantic convention center, but by the time we got to Friday night here, it is just jam-packed with thousands and thousands of people. And I said people come here to play games, but people come to do all sorts of things. There's a spectacle, really. Here you can see Card Hollow, where people build stacks of cards, and the last day on Sunday, people will throw pennies and knock these cards down for charity purposes. And all over the convention center you can find statues, and different companies have come and set up big displays to show off their wares. And there's also some people come to see the auction.
50, 55, 60, 65, 70, 75, 80. I got one up at 80, one up at 80. Any other interest? 7523 for $80. Thank you.
Okay, I now have the same 10th anniversary bonus pack collection. This is D1, S1, S4, S3. This one is in the shrink wrap and it is sealed. So this is sealed, tight shrink wrap. Same collection as described, starting at $1. 50, 55, 60, 65, 70, 75, 80, 85, 90, 95, 100, 105, 110. 110, so 115, 120, 125, 30, 35, 40. We gotta start this over.
Some people come to these conventions to play games that they cannot play anywhere else. Gigantic games, or maybe just games that they have a hard time getting other people to play, or games that have a fan base like Heroes Escape, where you can come and play in gigantic tournaments. They're all over the place. Other people come because there's huge miniature displays here that you don't get to see at home. And you can come and set up and just see really cool things that, this is not the kind of game I can have in my basement. Other people come to dress up in costumes. There was quite a bit of that, and others come for the entertainment. You can play all sorts of games when you come to GenCon. You can pretty much find any game you want to play, from miniature games to really giant versions of several games. Lots of the companies bring in huge versions of their games to play. Mayfair, had a whole room devoted to this. And, this is another cool reason to come to a convention to play giant games like this, because I'm not going to keep games like this on my shelf, but they are fun. There's something about playing these bigger ones. And this was, for me, the highlight of the large games. Some folks brought in a giant robo rally made of thousands and thousands of Legos and robots that actually moved depending on the pre-programmed cards that were put in them. This is something I'm going to come and try next year. Awesome. But we can see that most of the people here who have come to see the new games. These are people waiting to see the lineups. Let's look at these new games. Now, there's a lot of new games that were at the convention center here. I don't have time to show you all of them because there are literally hundreds of new games. But I just wanted to highlight some of the ones that interested me. Fantasy Flight was there with a giant booth, showing off all their new games. And Fantasy Flight always has a lot of cool games, but this year they seem to have outdone themselves. We see here the Gears of War, the giant Battle of Westeros, more stuff for their Tannhauser game, and other games. They had quite a few expansions for the different games that they have coming out, including Tannhauser, Lord of the Rings, Talisman, Rune Wars, Battle of Westeros. But one of the big announcements was the fact that they picked up the Star Wars license. And so they have a couple new games out for that, X-Wing vs. TIE Fighter, and a Star Wars card game. And to me, that's super exciting to see Star Wars miniatures on the table. But that's not the only thing they had. Rune Age, they're showing off some of their new models. I mean, tremendous for Dust Tactics. Really outstanding miniatures coming out for this game. One of the best games from 2010, and they have come out with a miniature set rules, so no longer do you have to play with it on the board, but you'll be able to play with it on terrain like shown on these boards here. So like I said, Fantasy Flight was really there in full blast. But there's a lot of games there. There's games for kids, as we can see here from this Buffalo Games booth there, like this pavilion area where there was a lot of companies that were showing off different games that they had, including this silly one called Flickin' Chicken.
Flickin' Chicken, $20. It comes with a target, a score pad, pencil, and 4 rubber chickens. And it's kind of like a rubber chicken version of mini golf. We're going to throw the target as far as we possibly can, which isn't going to go very far here. And we're going to take our different colored rubber chickens and throw them at the target. Whenever they land, you pick them up from there and throw them again until they land on the target.
Throw a chicken.
So you're counting the number of strokes. So why don't you...
Okay, good.
So we're going to go up there and try again.
And this is one of the cool things about GenCon, is the ability to play these sorts of games. And you play it here and no one gets upset because everybody else is a gamer too. And there was just so many games, and I really enjoyed the fact that I was able to bring my daughter because there was so much for her to see and do. A lot of companies there that had games that were really orientated towards kids or towards families in general. And so it's not just this adult style strategy games, and new companies coming and showing off their games, including
I don't want to know
Skinny
what that
dipping.
is. A weekend at the local nudist resort.
Beekeeping starter kit.
These are cool. You don't want to do that.
These
I know,
are cool?
exactly. I actually wanted that. Running with the bulls.
Oh, so you go to Spain, you run you get a with trip the to bulls. Spain. Ooh, a porta potty.
I've always wanted one of those.
Put that in your backyard permanently, and a deer hoof
Who
lamp.
got skinny dipping?
Who submitted skinny dip? Nice. So you get the points.
Well, enough of trying to give people the worst gifts. This was a large booth showing off the Lego display. That was something that was amazing to see, with all the kids really enjoyed that. Legos is popular, of course, and when you add in the game aspect, man, that's neat. Other games I liked were this really cool looking game from Soda Pop Miniatures called Super Dungeon Explorer, which looks like a board game version of the old computer game Gauntlet. Except, well, awesome. Lots of neat things involved here, and I can't wait to try this one out. AEG had this game, Ninja, which is kind of a game where one player is playing ninja trying to get into the palace undetected. GameCrafter had a booth there, and they were showing off several different games, including this one, Diggity, and others from Matt Worden. GameCrafter is a company that you can send your own designs to, and they will make the game for you. One of the busiest booths by far was WizKids. Now you may know them because of their HeroClix, and they got some pretty neat HeroClix stuff coming out. But they also now have the Star Trek license, so we're starting to see some cool Star Trek games come out from them. And the popular, probably most popular game of the fair, Warriors. Mage Wars was there. It's still in demo form. It's going to be a year before we see this, but looks really good. And there was just all different companies showing off different styles of games. A lot of games here that you can see. Ones that I will be doing reviews over in the next coming weeks. This one here, finally we have some Discworld games. This was one of 2 at the fair. And, you know, all genres are represented here. So if you like horror, the Twilight Creations entire booth makes games that go along that line. You can get candy too if you want. One of the more interesting games I saw was this Ascension, but lo and behold, this isn't even a board game. It's actually an iPad application, but it looks pretty good, and we're going to see more of those as time goes by. This is probably my most interesting game I saw there, Sentinels of the Multiverse, a cooperative superhero game. Keep an eye out for this one. It looks like a lot of fun. It comes with a ton of cards. Also, another game of cards, Eminent Domain. Tasty Minster booth had a huge display there. Ducks. What are these for? Well, they're supposed to be for DuckDuckGo, but people were just buying them. But Ape Games was there also showing off 1955, which looks like a fun two-player game. One of the biggest games that you could find there, amazingly produced, was the Fortune and Glory game, gigantic box from the Flying Frogs. They also had characters dressed up walking around who were part of this game. This one looks like a pulp adventure game, one I think that will be very fun to see and play in the future. A lot of companies or people just show up with prototypes. This is a prototype of a game called Worker Placement, and these prototypes or advanced copies of games is another neat reason to go to GenCon, because you're going to see games like this one here from Asmodee, which aren't out yet, but you have a chance to see it before anybody else does. And you can see the artwork, and not everything here is set in stone, but you can see here another example of a prototype coming out, the Penny Arcade deck building game. And so one of the reasons people like to go to GenCon is to get like a hands-on experience or play games that require throwing something in a lid, like my co-host Eric is trying to do here. And I'm going to have to put emphasis on the thing trying, because it's just not working. But that's what I like about games, is they have all sorts of different things involved in it. Here we see a prototype for the new expansion coming out for the Ghost Stories. This is the new expansion, which is going to allow one of the players to be the bad guy. So again, that has some neat artwork, and we're looking forward to that. And so Asmodee was nice enough to show us a bunch of prototypes for their upcoming games, and we're really looking forward to see them, including this one here about a panda. This is from Fred Distribution, a new Richard Launius dice game from them. And throughout the hall, there's not just board games. I mean, that's what this video is mostly about. But you can see that here we have Geek Chic showing off their incredible tables, the Sultan table with drawers in the side. I mean, this is what every gamer probably wants to have in their house. And when you come here, you probably seriously think about getting one too, until you look at that price. I mean, I don't have 12 to 16,000. Maybe you'd rather just get one of these Settlers of Catan tables instead. Although, honestly, I don't know that I want a table that's just for one game, but hey, it does fit that one game quite well. So those are just a sampling of some of the games that we saw at GenCon. If you want to see more or hear more about them, go to our website, dicetower.com. We did a whole podcast talking about our best games and all the fun things we saw at the fair. But I would recommend, if you have a chance to go to GenCon 2012, really try to do so. There is just tons of things to see and do. There's places to go. You can play games with thousands and thousands of other gamers. And we just had a blast. I was only able to be there on Thursday and Friday, and I wasn't able to see maybe but 25% of everything that's going on. They even had video games. It was a small room. And they had open gaming, something that was kind of lacking in the past, but now it was really well done. And so you can go, here's the Dominion tournament that was going on, but you can go and just play open games with all your friends. So, why do people go to GenCon? To see stuff, for the spectacle, to play games, just to have a lot of fun. But I go for one basic reason, and that is to hang out with my friends. Here are some of my best friends, folks who work with me on the Dice Tower and other podcasts, and that is the best reason, by far, of going to these. And if you go to GenCon, there's a chance you'll make friends as good as these too. Have fun.